On the agenda tonight, we're going to be having a listen to the separated and isolated vocals of Paul Simon and Art Garfunkel from their original release of The Sound of Silence. Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus and welcome to another analysis video. If you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. So this is one of those videos that I have been led down a path with because in recent years, this song in particular, The Sound of Silence, has been covered many times, but it has been covered a lot of times with the use of pitch correction and auto-tune in order to make the main melody, the harmony line as well, really accurate to the point where it just sounds a bit mechanical. And that's what we looked at in the last video. So I thought, why not listen to the original and see how accurate the two guys were originally, to see if people are maybe getting a little bit hung up on hitting 440 Hz tuning rather than just performing the song. So I have separated Art and Paul's voice. It's taken a little bit longer than normal for this particular video because their voices blend so well. The voice isolation software has difficulty breaking them up. So I isolated the left channel, the right channel, and then isolated them independently, and then obviously run it through the vocal pitch monitor. So on screen you can see Art's voice on the left hand side, Paul's voice on the right hand side, so that we can dive into their voices and actually see their voices and how accurate they are hitting these pitches, considering that, I mean, this song is all about the harmonies and the feel of the performance between Art and Paul. Let's jump into it.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again.
And I have maintained that split of having Art on the left and Paul on the right if you're listening to this through headphones. But obviously I'm going to be jumping into this. There's a link in the description below if you want to just hear the original song. This is going to be a little bit more in-depth because we are isolating voices. But we can see straight away as we go back here that, I mean, we're starting pretty much bang on the D sharp 3 with Art, and then we're quite a lot sharp. And then we're flat and we just touch the A sharp 3 very briefly, and then we come down to this held note. And Art's vibrato is so slight and it's actually really fast. We can see that here, but look at where the note is. It's sharp already. I mean, we've only just started the song. On that previous analysis video, the first line of the song, I believe, I mean, the whole thing was pitch corrected, borderline auto-tuned. So all of these notes were just straight on the lines. But you can see that even right at the beginning here, we're not on the lines at all, really.
I've come to talk with you again.
And even Paul's harmony line, you can see here, is flat and Art is sharp. So it's giving a great indication that a song and a vocal performance that is now so well known, they didn't have the technology to conform their voices and their notes to 440 Hz tuning, which is what's happening in the modern day music industry. It's just being stuck on the lines of this chart. Whereas when you've got the freedom to sing and get the notes to sit where they do naturally, especially when you're harmonizing with another singer, you get so much more of that expression. But we'll have a listen on because, you know, it's really interesting just to hear these two voices by themselves.
Because a vision softly creeping left its seeds while I was sleeping.
And now we start to get an appreciation of Art's just appreciation of pitch, but that ability to be really strict with, you can see here that, you know, we're slightly sharp, slightly flat, but we're pretty much over the D sharp 4, and then the C sharp 4 we're bang on. We go a little bit flat. This is something else to look out for throughout this performance, is the way that we never stick to a line and go straight on the line. We have these tiny variations of being on the line, actually went a little bit above and then a little bit below. So the voice is in and around where this chart is saying it should be, but it should be, I mean, great singers will put the note where it is and not where it should be. And then when we look at this graph, which, yeah, unfortunately, the whole music industry's kind of got it all the wrong way round at the moment, because they're now looking at this first rather than allowing the singer to just do their thing And then when you analyze it, you can see that they're not actually on these lines. Anyway, that's the problem with conforming it to 440 hertz tuning. So you'll start to notice this trend of being over the line, slightly sharp, slightly flat, sometimes ascending through the line, sometimes descending. Same thing here, we're slightly sharp. Actually, we maintain it sharp, but look at this with the D sharp 4, the way that Art's voice just spears almost through the line, but it still sounds great, and that's the point.
Sleeping.
You can actually see Paul's voice here just ascending, so the same thing's happening, and they're not doing this on purpose. They're not thinking, oh, I'm going to try and sing slightly ascending and descending. It's just a natural voice. This is what a natural voice looks like.
And the vision that was planted in my brain still remains.
I'm just going to take that back a little bit, because this note that we have here from Art, as we hit that C sharp 4 bang on, you'll notice how Paul was actually flat of his A sharp 3, of that harmony note that he's singing. So it just goes to show that it doesn't matter if somebody's ever so slightly off and the other person nails it, or if they're both slightly off. One might be slightly sharp, one might be slightly flat, but it's the blend of the voices that makes sense of it all, because we're not listening to pitch, and we're not actually hearing pitch in this kind of detail. And that's why when it is conformed to 440 hertz tuning with pitch correction or auto tune, it's too precise. It sounds mechanical. We don't hear voices like that. It's like when we talk, when we're listening to a great singer, we're listening to the expression, which happens in the microtones. So yeah, this is what happens, unfortunately, with this song a lot. A lot of people are just auto-tuning it and pitch correcting it, and therefore you lose the expression.
Still remains within the sound of silence. In restless dreams I walked alone, narrow streets of cobblestone. Again,
we have this slight decrease in pitch, just descending from that G sharp 3, and this is Art on the left hand side, and a slight descending here. Again, that's just a bit of expression that would have been taken out with auto tune.
Neath the halo of a street lamp, I turn my collar to the cold and damp.
Now take a look at this pitch accuracy here from Art. I always say this, that great singers never hit these lines all the time, because sometimes this isn't the best place to hit the note, depending on the key and the melody that you're singing. But if we have a look through, I mean, he's spot on with the C sharp 4, and then he ascends up to the D sharp 4. So here's your example that we've got just bang on the line, then slightly flat, actually going up through that line, then ascending up to the line, coming back down, and we're bang on the line. So this is a great example of a natural voice that isn't, and you can see the tiny little waves that we have in Art's voice, that tiny wobble of pitch that's really subtle. I mean, it's not a straight line that we're looking at here, but just these other little bits of imperfection, these microtones that he's hitting, that's where that expression is. And it makes sense because, and it makes sense to our ears, it sounds pitch perfect because he's always round and about the notes that we're expecting to hear. But when something is auto-tuned, for example, the voice is telling us the note that we should be hearing, but it's not the note that we're expecting to hear, because we listen to notes and singers in a way that is more of an average. We can hear where the singer is hitting these notes in relation to the backing, the instrumentation. We can hear roughly where the voice is, and if the voice sits in the place that we're expecting it to be, then it sounds great. And we expect it to be in a particular place because of the instrumentation. As soon as that voice is now stuck somewhere and it always goes to that place, it's now not relevant to the instrumentation because it's been independently edited, effectively, and manipulated. So we're not hearing the voice where we're expecting to hear it. And this is why, even if you're not musical, everyone can tell a bad singer who can't hit any notes from a good singer who is hitting the notes. And it's just something inherently human that we have that ability. That there's a reason that people who aren't very accurate at singing don't have, number ones week after week after week, because nobody can really tell the difference. Everyone can hear where the notes should be, where they're expecting them to be. And yeah, when you're going through auto-tune and pitch correction when it's done quite badly, that's telling you where the note is. It's not the way that music should work.
When my eyes were stabbed by the flash of a neon light.
Another great example here. Interestingly, we've got this ascension to the D sharp 4 with Art, and the same kind of thing with Paul. As we take that back, Paul's backing line is actually ascending as well.
When my eyes were stabbed by the flash of a neon light.
So that's really interesting that these two lines that we get. Paul was a little bit more flat of the note before he got up to that F sharp 3, and you can hear in Paul's voice, he's just going na 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 na. He's kind of just trying to hit that note. But again, the variation in pitch, this is the kind of thing that you would never get if it was manipulated, because actually rising up to the note independently of each other but together, this is what gives it its unique sound, because we're not just both on the same line. They've both got their own unique way of ascending to the note that they're hitting.
Split the night and touch the sound of silence.
Again, that little drop off from the C sharp 4.
And in the naked light I saw 10,000 people, maybe more.
Take a look at this, that really fast wobble that we have with Art's voice. Look at the way that it drifts. It drifts so sharp, we're almost between notes here.
People talking without speaking. People hearing without listening. People writing songs that voices never share. No one dared.
And again, when we're looking here, we had that same kind of thing, a little bit sharp here, a little bit sharp again on the D sharp 4, but then on the C sharp 4, we are quite a lot sharp. And yeah, that would never be allowed through auto-tune or pitch correction because it's too far away from the line, but it still worked. And going back to my earlier point of, it doesn't matter if a vocalist is slightly sharp and then the harmony line slightly flat, it's the blend of the voices. And let's listen to that again.
Voices never share, no one dared.
So when we have a look at that, where Art was quite a lot sharp, Paul was quite a lot flat. So it really just proved the point that everything that is being manipulated nowadays, you will never hear this, a harmony line being flat and the main vocal being sharp, because they'll just be snapped to the same place. You got this back in the 60s, and thankfully in the 70s and the 80s, and then the whole auto-tune thing happened in the late 90s. But you got all these kinds of unique performance elements pitch-wise, and all of these microtones that you would never hear nowadays. It's just allowed to be what it is, which is the whole point of art. It just is what it is. You either like it or you don't, but at least let the art be what it is and don't start messing with it.
Disturb the sound of silence. Fool, said I, you do not know. Silence like a cancer grows.
And there we had it again. Look at that. That's quite a dramatic increase in pitch from Art. And, you could say that's almost a semitone. We're starting pretty much halfway between G3 and G sharp 3. And then we ascend and we end up almost halfway between G sharp 3 and A3. So we've got a dramatic increase in pitch, a whole note's worth. But again, you don't notice it when you're listening to it.
Hear my words that I might teach you. Take my arms that I might reach you. But my words, like silent raindrops, fell and echoed in the wells of silence. And the people bowed and prayed to the neon god they made. And the sign flashed out its warning in the words that it was forming.
Again, we had this just drifting sharp and sharp, bang on, and then flat. And by the way, flat is below the line, sharp is above the line.
And the sign flashed out its warning in the words that it was forming. And the sign said the words of the prophets are written on the subway walls and tenement halls, whispered in the sounds of silence.
And there we have it. Another thing that you do get an appreciation of with the isolated vocals is that change in dynamic. The way that we go from, I mean, let's just take it back. Have a listen here.
Sign flashed out its warning in the words that it was forming.
So you can tell that we're quite open here vocally, rather than, you know, right at the end of the song where we have silence. And we almost lose the word of silence until the s at the end because it is so subtle. But listen to this.
And the sign said the words of the prophets are written on the subway walls.
So with art, we've got that words of the prophets are written on the subway walls. He's kind of leaning into it so much more than you'll get previously in the song. But this is the point. It's making a journey out of the song, but the vocal dynamically, you know, as well as taking up to, you know, a higher point with now leaning into it rather than na 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 na. Earlier in the song, a much lighter sound, and Paul exactly the same, matching the voices dynamically, getting them to blend. You don't want one to be leaning into it and then the other voice to still be in that soft place. It's very much a living, breathing thing. As the song progresses, the singers naturally match each other dynamically.
Whispered in the sounds of silence.
And there, I mean, the isolating software might not pick that up so well at the end, but that silence, you might not even be able to hear it on this mic, but there's a tiny at the end that you hear, which, you know, is taking it down to about, yeah, the lowest level you ever can, but you can still just hear it. And what I wanted to do was just play it from this point to listen to the guitar that comes in.
Restless dreams I walked alone.
That guitar that has the na 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 na, those notes are actually sharp. So the guitar's out of tune. So, I mean, that just proves everything. That if you have a song like this that is so well known, and one of the guitars, I think there's another guitar that actually comes in at this point when you compare it with the fingerstyle of the kind of first verse and the intro. So the guitar that comes in is out of tune. So if that's not a problem, then it just goes to show that if the voices are slightly out, they're going to be matching the instrumentation that's going on. So they'll find that middle point between that slightly out of tune guitar and the other fingerstyle guitar that is more in tune. This trend, and you know, it's just a go-to, unfortunately, in the modern day music industry of applying pitch correction and or auto-tune. It's like having a great painting by a world-renowned artist and somebody coming along who isn't an artist But they might they might make paint or brushes and coming along and saying, oh, yeah, that's good, but the face isn't very realistic, so I'm just going to change it myself, rather than allowing the artist to just have their painting as it is. And there are plenty of artists, even though it's not my area at all, who have a style that isn't realistic, and that's the point. That is their interpretation of whatever they are using as the subject of their pictures. But thank you guys for watching this video. I hope that you did enjoy it. If you want me to jump into any other vocal performances, maybe look at something that you think might be auto-tuned or pitch corrected, keep those suggestions and requests coming in the comment section below. If you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you guys at the next one. Rock!